Hi, this is Adam Ginsberg, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to show you 3 different ways you can list items on Amazon. The first one that we'll look at is the traditional way of manually listing an item, and this is how most Amazon sellers do it. The second way that we'll look at is using SpyRivals 2.0, and the third way that we'll look at it is using SpyRivals X. So I'm going to show you each one of these processes step by step, so you can utilize the one that is best for you as you are growing and scaling your Amazon business. So let's go ahead and get started. In the first example, we're going to list the item the traditional way. So what we would do is we would follow our formula. Step number 1, source the product. And step number 2, see if it's on Amazon. Once we've determined the profitability and we understand that the item is selling, we need to list that item. So what we'll do is we'll go to the URL of the web browser and we'll copy the ASIN. Just a reminder, the ASIN starts with the letter B. Let's go ahead and do that now. So once we're in our Amazon account, we'll click on the 3 bars in the upper left-hand corner. We'll select the first drop-down, which is Catalog, and we'll continue to the first item, which is Add Products. From here, we'll enter the ASIN in the search box and click on Search. We'll confirm that this is the item that we're looking to sell, and we'll click Select Condition. The condition is New. From here, we're going to click on Sell This Product. Now on this page, you have 2 options. You can either fulfill the item yourself, or you can have Amazon fulfill. If you are doing fulfillment by merchant, that's where you're going to ship the item to the customer when it sells, you'll need to enter the quantity. Just an important point that if you do select fulfillment by merchant, make sure to have the inventory on hand, because if the item sells immediately when it's listed, you'll be required to ship that item. If you're simply listing the item to test whether it is gated or restricted or not, make sure to select FBA, because with FBA, number 1, you only enter the quantity when you send the items in, and number 2, those items cannot sell unless Amazon receives them. So we're going to select FBA regardless, because we know that's how we want to do our business. When I select FBA, you'll see that the field to enter the quantity goes away. So in this case, we have a few fields that are required. The first one is the SKU, which is not a required field, so we'll leave that blank and let Amazon assign that to us. We'll enter our price of $190, and our offer type is new. Now, this, for some people, can be confusing, because when you click Save and Finish, your item will automatically be listed on Amazon. Now, this is a new flow that Amazon has in place. In the past, you would see a confirmation where Amazon would say, your item has been listed, and in the next 15 minutes, it'll be active in your account. It doesn't show that or reflect that now. What it is doing is asking you to continue with your shipping plan of sending this item to Amazon. Now, we're not going to go through this process because for most of you watching this video as an Internet Mastery community member, you're going to be using the Prep Center. If you are going to be shipping the items yourself to Amazon, we'll be able to cover how to create a shipping plan in a separate video. But suffice it to say that your item has been listed in your Amazon account, and we can take a look at our inventory, manage inventory page to see that it is there. We can see that it is inactive and out of stock simply because Amazon has not received the item yet. The item will always remain inactive until Amazon receives the inventory, and then when it becomes available for sale, it will automatically change to active. Good news is that when you sell out of that item, it will automatically go back to inactive, so you can't sell items that you don't have. And you'll see here is the auto-assigned SKU from Amazon along with the ASIN. So that's the manual way of listing an item. It typically will take you about 1 minute for every item that you list. And if you're listing the items so that you can sell them, well, of course, that makes a lot of sense. If you're listing the item to just determine whether or not you can sell them, that works as well. It's just simply time consuming. So you might have to go through 50 or 60 or 70 items before you find a good one that isn't brand restricted, that isn't category gated, that can work for you within your Amazon account. Now, what we love about Spy Rivals 2.0 and Spy Rivals X technology is we can skip all of this. There's no need to log into your Amazon account to determine whether or not an item is gated or restricted, and there is no need to log into your Amazon account to list an item. So the speed in which you can do the business is very different. Now, one of the things that I want to mention is that when you can save time, you can utilize your time to do other things, whether it's the business or not in the business. So I think one of the most important aspects as you're growing your business is to use technology to automate. So let's go ahead and log into Spy Rivals and follow the same process. So once we're logged into our Internet Mastery community account, we'll click on the Spy Rivals 2.0 link. And from here, we can enter our ASIN. Now, if you're following the formula, you will have already done this. Step number 1 is source the product. Step number 2, see if it's on Amazon. Step number 3, determine the profitability. And step number 4, make sure it's selling. So we use Spy Rivals to determine the profitability and to make sure it's selling. And in both of those cases, we use Spy Rivals to determine the viability of that item. So let's go ahead and follow the process now of listing the item through Spy Rivals, since it does meet all of our criteria. I'm going to click on the middle of the result and a pop-up will appear. You'll notice that the second tab says List on Amazon. So let's go ahead and click on that List on Amazon tab and see what happens. There's two important aspects to this section. Number one, it says you are eligible to list. So right here in Spy Rivals 2.0, when we are doing our product sourcing at a very high level, we know whether or not we can list the item. When you are using Spy Rivals 2.0 or Spy Rivals X, you no longer have to list the item first to determine whether or not you can sell it. Again, let's just talk for a moment about time. If you were to list 60 items to find one good one that was not restricted and not gated, and I'm not saying you're going to have to list 60, you might have to list 160. But let's just say for a moment that you have to list 60 items, and each one takes 1 minute. That means you're spending 1 hour just to determine what is gated, ungated, restricted, or unrestricted. With Spy Rivals 2.0, that process now is seconds, not a minute. And so rather than spend 60 minutes to look up 60 items just to validate it, we now can spend less than 6 minutes doing the same thing. Again, this really is what technology is all about. The second thing that I want you to see here is the ability for us to simply enter our selling price and click submit. And that will automatically list the item on Amazon. So there's a couple of things that I want to do here. Number one, I want to make sure that FBA is selected. Number two, I want to enter my selling price. And number three, I want to select which country my Amazon listing will appear in. And so we have the ASIN, we have that it's FBA, and we have the selling price. Now, these are the same three fields when we went through the manual process of listing the item on Amazon directly that we needed to put that item as a listing in our Amazon account. Next thing I'll do is I'll click the button that says List on Amazon. And when I do, you'll see a confirmation that says this item has been submitted to Amazon. We will notify you as to the status of your listing. And a reminder that it can take up to 15 minutes for that item to be live in your Amazon account. And that's the process. So when you're using Spy Rivals 2.0, you no longer need to do the following things. Number one, you do not need to log into Amazon, list an item just simply to determine whether you can sell it or not. Spy Rivals 2.0 solves that issue. The second element is that you no longer need to log into your Amazon account to list any items that are already on Amazon. Simply enter the fields in SpyRivals, click Submit, and your item has been listed. Now that's the second way of doing it. The third way of doing it is with this revolutionary Google Chrome extension called SpyRivals X. SpyRivals X has changed everything for people in our Internet Mastery community. The students that are using this tool, this SpyRivals X tool, are literally finding items and then listing them in seconds, not in minutes and not in hours. Let me go ahead and show you that option. So now that we're back here on the Amazon detail page, I just want to review with you the process that you'd normally do when you're looking up an item. Step number one is source the product. Okay, we've done that. Step number two is see if it's on Amazon. Okay, we've done that too. Obviously, we can see this item is on the Amazon detail page. Step number three and step number four and step number 4A are determine the profitability, make sure it's selling, and then list it to make sure that you can actually sell it. Well, what if we didn't have to copy the ASIN? What if we didn't have to find the ASIN in the URL, head over to SpyRivals, and do all of that manually? SpyRivals X changes everything. And as you can see, above the ratings and below the title, there is a green button there that now says SpyRivals X. Let's go ahead and click on it and see what happens. When we click on the SpyRivals X button, a pop-up shows up. Now, this data is the SpyRivals 2.0 data, but it resides on the Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, wherever you're looking up the data, on the Amazon website. So no longer do we have to copy the ASIN and bring it over to SpyRivals 2.0. We can see that the item is green. We can see that the item is selling. We can determine our profitability here on the page. If we bought the item for $50 and we sold the item for $199, click Calculate Profit. And from here, you can see what the profitability of this item is, again, without having to head over to SpyRivals 2.0. Now, the next aspect to this is the process that we went through on SpyRivals 2.0, but even simpler here. The first thing you'll notice is that the option to list the item is on the Amazon US, Amazon.com page. Why? Because I'm using SpyRivals X on Amazon.com. The second gives me the option to do an FBA or an FBM listing. Obviously, we're going to list it as an FBA item. And the third thing that we do is we simply click on List on Amazon. Now, the price in parentheses is the same sell price that we entered into the profit calculator. You'll see here also that no listing restrictions apply. So when I'm doing my product research and I find the item on Amazon and I click SpyRivals X, that pop-up shows me instantly whether the item is restricted or not. Immediately, I know. I don't have to copy the ASIN, head to my Amazon account, list it first. I don't have to copy it and bring it over to SpyRivals 2.0. I can simply click the pop-up and it tells me right away whether I can sell that item. Again, just think about the amount of time that saves you in your product research. Then I do the profit calculator to make sure that it's profitable. And from there, I'll simply click on the button that says List on Amazon. I'll get a confirmation that says this item has been submitted to your Amazon account. It can take up to 15 minutes for the item to be active. Please check the status here. And when we head over to our Amazon account, we can see that our item has now been listed in Amazon. So there are 3 different ways you can list an item on Amazon. Number one is you can do it the classic way or the old-fashioned way, where you find the item, you copy the ASIN, you go into your Amazon account, and you follow the steps that Amazon provides. It takes about a minute to list an item that way. Number two, you can use SpyRivals 2.0, and while you're doing your research, you can list an item directly because you already know whether or not the item is restricted or not. And then number 3 is with SpyRivals X. In the midst of your research, you immediately know whether you can sell it or not, and you can list it all in one place, all on the Amazon page. So pick your path, whichever one makes the most sense for you, but that's a little overview of some of the different options for you on how to list an item on Amazon.